The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests. If you're a sensitive snowflake that may get easily offended, then turn this off immediately. If you want to hear the real truth about the gun culture, then stick around. This is the Armed Citizen Podcast. What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 168. Today's date is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. We are live on YouTube and over on Facebook. If you're out there in the chat, go ahead and say hello. We don't know if you're out there unless you say something. If you're watching in replay or listening in podcast form, go ahead and utilize the comment section below. Let us know you were here. And if you, throughout the show, if you've got any questions or comments or telling me that I'm dumb and I should do it this way or whatever, I'm all for it. I love the conversation. Go ahead and utilize that comment section below. If you're out there and you want to call into the show or text the show, which would be a great way to get your comments read. But if you want to call, you can come on here. That phone number is the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by Rod and Shelly Gates over at the Gun Cleaners. That number is 530-364-4678. If you are a veteran, really if you're anyone, but especially if you're a veteran and you're having maybe some issues with some hard times, PTSD, depression, and you need someone to talk to, if you don't want to call me or you don't want to call anyone, you want to be anonymous, please utilize the Veterans Crisis Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. That number is scrolling down below. And as always, we want to mention anyone who's out there who is interested in possibly becoming a Marine, please check out www.marines.com. Now that we are got all that stuff done, let's bring in our good friend Clover. What's going on, Clove?
Hey, man, not a whole lot.
You doing all right today? I know you said you're feeling a little under the weather, but are you everything else pretty much besides that pretty good?
Yeah.
You probably don't.
Bad.
Rain. Is it raining down there? It just started raining.
Yeah,
here.
No, it's nasty. It's one of those nasty days. Yeah.
So you gotta love that.
Yeah, my plan was I was hoping that I could get something recorded today to get something out before Thanksgiving. But I warned everybody on the podcast last night. I was like, look, Thanksgiving week, you may not get nothing till next week. This may be the way it is. So that unfortunately looks like the way it is. So, yeah, I'll hit the ground running tomorrow and start doing some cooking and stuff like that. I'll be busy and won't have to worry about it.
Yeah, the rain's supposed to get out of here sometime mid-morning on Thursday. So if all works out, and we usually eat Thanksgiving kind of scheduled around the Cowboy football game. So it's usually either going to be 12 or at 3 o'clock or whatever. And then hopefully, possibly there's a chance I get to the range. Don't know yet, but hopefully the weather does that. Maybe get some on Thursday and may have a video put out this weekend. Or ignore my comment. Okay. Okay. Well, you understand out there that there's a lot of comments and I'm talking, so I might miss a comment out there. So if I offend you by not answering your comment, then the exit door is right down there. But he says, what about D-Day? I'm not even going to say the name, but what about D-Day? What do we do when military rolls out the vaccine? If you want to take the vaccine, take the vaccine. If you don't want to have the vaccine, don't take the vaccine. I'm not going to. But yeah, either. But that's okay. I haven't taken a flu vaccine in 20 years either, so right. It's whatever. If you're out there, tonight's subject is going to be interesting. It's something that I'm starting to get into, and I never really planned on it, but I've kind of met some people, and it's kind of been interesting. And then talk about the prepping and survivalist side of things and all of that. So if you're out there and you're listening live right now and you either on Facebook or on YouTube, if you are a prepper or a survivalist or you want to become and you you got some information or you're wanting to ask some questions and all that, and we would love for you to jump in the panel. I've got a couple links out to some preppers. I know one said that he may not be able to make it. Another one said he might be a little bit late. So we're hoping a couple of those jump in. Be great. But if you're out there and you are a prepper or you're starting to or you want to, we'd love to have you jump in. So the StreamYard link is out there on both the Facebook and the YouTube side. Go ahead and click that link and come on in. We'd love to have you join the conversation. So so it all started, honestly, I'd say about a week or two ago. I started getting like randomly out of the blue. And once again, understand that I haven't really watched the news. I turned off satellite TV and all that in October of 2018. So it's been 2 years since we've had, we have Hulu, we have, things we can watch TV, but we don't have like local TV stuff for a couple years. And we did that for a reason, because I don't want to watch the news. I don't, there's nothing out there. Mandatory carry starting out with the super chat. Keep fighting, gonna be late to my own damn death. I hear you, bro. Thanks for the super chat. Let's see here. Who do we want to do super chat soon? I tell you what, we're gonna do all super chats tonight. We'll go to Toys for Tots. It's a great program the Marines run for Christmas for underprivileged kids. So all super chats tonight will go to Toys for Tots. That sounds like a good one to go with, doesn't it? Always help out the kiddos. But so it started about a couple weeks ago, and so I started getting these random things about survivalist and prepping, and what kind of prepping do I do? And I don't. I mean, I don't consider what I do prepping, and maybe you're the same way, Clover. But I mean, we have certain things that we have a lot of, and I don't think that we're ever worried about running out of food. But we're not going to be living off the grid. We're not preparing for like living off the grid. What about you guys?
Well, to interrupt you for just a second.
Yeah.
Here. That's what I was going to say just a second ago when you said that. I was going to say, first we have to define prepper.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
That's going to mean something different to everybody depending on where they live and how many people's in their household and their economic status or whatever. And it means it's totally different.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, we've got supplies that are going to, last us a little bit if we had to, if where we live, our house, we're in a subdivision, but we live on top of a big mountain, and there's 2 roads that can get to my driveway in the neighborhood, and both of them flood pretty easily if there's rain. And my driveway is right there on a hill. As a matter of fact, where I am on the road is where all the neighborhood kids come to go sledding if there's snow. It's a real steep hill. That being said, if it snows or ice, there's a good chance I might not be able to get out, or there's a big flood. I might not be able to get out to the main town. I'm stuck where I am for a while. That being said, so we understand that we have to be ready for a couple days. Now, like I said, we're not going to be prepping for the apocalypse or anything like that to where we can live, 6 months. We don't have a bunker that's got canned foods out the wazoo. We have a bunch of canned foods, but nothing to that extreme. So it's all started about doing a thing on the vehicle. And I put a video out this weekend about, I think it was maybe Sunday night, Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember, about how my car is set up and some of the stuff that I have. And it's not necessarily a survivalist and all that. It's just stuff that I think that everyone really should have. Talking about road flares. I've got a go bag and it's got a couple MREs and about 12 waters. And you have the machetes, the hatchets, the knives, the ammo, the guns. I keep my body armor in there. All that kind of stuff that I think that it's what it is. And like Budget's out there, and Budget's at work, and he already said that he couldn't make it, but he said water. Most beginners ignore water. Sure, guns and ammo are sexy, but water is life. I've actually got over on my Amazon, so you can just Google Amazon Ghost Tactical, and I've got my Amazon, and I started setting up a survival list, and water purification tablets are on there for sure. And this is something I heard this too. I want to get your advice on this, Clover. But it says mandatory carry is the best advice I ever heard. Go camping. If you can camp for a week, you can camp in your living room for months.
Only think you got to go a week, man. I think if you made a
I
weekend
think
out of it,
I
be
think
fun.
so too. And if you
But we're
go,
talking bare bones. We're talking bare bones camping. We're not talking air mattresses.
right,
Take your food with you. You know, go to
yeah,
the state.
not take out food. You know,
Right.
not
Go
take
to the take.
yourself home.
Maybe take a few spices. Take a skillet. You know, take an axe to the hatch. Go to like a state park that's got a lake, or maybe it's on a river or something like
Mhm.
that. Catch fish. Um, you know, and that's what you eat that weekend. If you've got access to a water filtration system, take that with you. Filter
Yeah.
your water. Maybe take you some coffee or take you some powdered drink mix or something if you want to mix it up or whatever. But yeah, go as bare bones as you possibly can. That doesn't mean taking the RV out to the KOA. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I guess I want to start out and ask you a question and say, when you hear, we talk about this defining the context and
Uh-huh.
definitions of such. So when you hear the word prepper,
Hmm.
you know what, oh man, Nighthawk, jump in, man. Use that link. I'm gonna put the link back out there. He said he's been prepping um since Y2K. So I'd love to get some of his
Yeah.
but he said he did send a super chat, $25. Thanks, Nighthawk. But been prepping since 2000 and said, yep, I'm old. I'd love to have you jump in. It'd be awesome. But anyway, so when you hear the word prepper, okay, what is your initial thought of what that means?
Being able to survive without most modern technology and or conveniences.
Okay.
For me, it is a for me, and it's the way I've always viewed it. And so, from an extent, my grandparents, parents, great grandparents, they were all preppers because they canned, they farmed, they had livestock, they hunted.
Mm,
And I do want to get into all of that here a little later on
absolutely.
with some of that
Absolutely.
specifics. But so they were able to sure. I mean, go to the grocery store if you got the money to go to the grocery store, and whatever. We have those conveniences nowadays. But what if they're not there?
Yep.
Having the ability to do that stuff to me um, throws you into the prepper category. I think the most likely scenario for most people in the country is going to be a hunker down situation. It's not going to be a get out on the Walking Dead, get out on the highways type, running around. It's not going to be a red dawn.
Fortify yourself where you are
It's
and
going to
hunker
be,
down.
the whole the whole pandemic thing is the level to the likes, whether man-made or natural, is the likes of which nobody has ever seen, and you can't take the risk. You literally can't take the risk of leaving your homestead.
Yep.
You're confined there.
I think that that's where I never really thought about it, but I guess there are so many people out there that don't want to leave the house right now. That
Mhm.
obviously we have another rush on toilet paper and paper towels and all. I mean, it's just whatever. But
Eh,
I guess there's a lot of people that are, there are people that are scared or have ailments that might tend to be bad in conjunction with corona,
uh-huh.
whatever, for whatever reason they don't want to leave the house. And there are people that probably haven't left their house in months, and so maybe that's why people are starting to, I don't know. So so Idaho Rogers out there says, I got a pasture full of beef and a cellar full of potatoes. That make me a prepper? It makes you
Yep.
well equipped.
Yep. Yep. As long as you keep
Oh,
the beef,
Nighthawk.
as long as you keep the beef bred and the potatoes growing, then
Yeah.
yeah, you're set, bro.
So Nighthawk has joined us. What's on, man? Uh-oh. I can't hear him.
Yeah, don't
Uh-oh.
show mute either. So
How
Yeah.
you doing, Ghost?
Oh, there
hey,
you are.
Clover.
what's up, bro?
So let me ask you this, and knowing you've been prepping, but before you kind of start prepping or whatever, when you hear the word prepper right now, Nighthawk, what's the first thing that kind of comes to your mind? There might be an ugly delay.
Getting prepared for whatever's coming around the corner.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a delay.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, bro.
Wow.
You might want to jump out and then jump back in and see if that helps.
Depends a lot on
Okay, I'm out.
Depends a lot on what internet he's using too. He may be using something that has a natural delay.
Yeah, it could be. See if he jumps back in, and maybe that'll fix it. Anyways, and yeah, so I guess when I think of prepper, and that's because I know a lot of preppers, and we all know some people. So prepper, you've got prepper bunkers outdoors, which we know Jacob, who does beach and tactical as well. You've got, there's all sorts of great preppers. Such has, I mean, I think Such's Sensible Prepper channel might be bigger than Such's actual gun channel. I don't know, but Such is a big time prepper as well. And there's a lot of them out there that are doing. And so when I think of prepper now, I think maybe it's one of those that I think that I and other people might think preppers, they might kind of intertwine them and get them confused with survivalists, because I think they might be different. Do you think that a prepper and a survivalist are different distinguishing factors?
A little bit. I think a survivalist. I think a survivalist can be a prepper, but a prepper by nature is not going to be a survivalist. Maybe is how I'm looking. But anyway, I'll explain a little deeper there. So a survivalist to me is somebody that you airdrop in the woods. They can make it 3 or 4 days. They can get back to civilization. Not a problem, right?
Yep.
And yeah, preppers may have those skills.
Mm-hmm.
But a survivalist, just because that person can do that doesn't mean they're preparing ahead of time, right? They may feel because you can airdrop me in the middle of the Cambodian jungle, and I can survive. I don't have to prep. I don't have to stock up on anything, right? I don't have to prepare.
Right.
And so I think one doesn't necessarily equal the other, but they can.
Nighthawk, can you hear me now, Nighthawk? You good?
Yeah, I got you good. I figured out I had to shut off the feed before I got into StreamYard.
Wow.
Oh, right on. So, when you hear the word prepper and all that, and do you think that a prepper and a survivalist, are they different? Can they be the same? What are your initial reaction to the terms prepper and survivalist?
To me, they're different. Prepper is you, Clover, me, anybody who's going to say hunker down, stay at home, and you just want the supplies to keep your life as normal as possible. Survivalist is you get all cammied up and crawl around in the woods, and you're going to live off the land.
Yeah, and see, and that's kind of where, if you would have asked me this 5-10 years ago, I probably would have said in my mind what I would have thought as a prepper. I probably would have described more of a survivalist. Okay, let's be honest. And over time, especially in the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot of reading, and I'm much more of a prepper than I thought I was. Not saying that I'm by any means, but laying out what kind of people consider to be preppers, it just means being prepared, basically. And so for me, it was nice to know that I'm doing some things right. There's some things I want to add on to. I would like to think that I could be a survivalist. With some training that I've had over the years, I think that I could survive, obviously. But for me, the prepping, I think, is more important, because if you're not prepping, then there's no way you're going to survive, in my opinion. It's kind of like what Clover said. A survivalist can be a prepper, but a prepper necessarily can't be a survivor. Anyone can prepare, but not everyone can actually survive in whatever happens, whether it's a tragedy, a natural tragedy, or whatever the case may be. Surviving is a skill set in its own.
And it might be even more than a skill set. You might have medical conditions. You've certain limited disabilities, certain limitations, right?
Yeah. So I want to start out with Nighthawk and say, when you first started, you said you've been prepping, you consider yourself a prepper since 2000 Y2K. When you started kind of in that mindset of I want to be prepared and prepping, what are some of the very first things that you thought about? I want to make sure I have these available for me.
Well, understand I lived in Chicago at the time. So
Okay.
concern about water was not that great.
Sure.
Besides having the city water system, we had Lake Michigan. So
Sure.
Beyond that, one of the first things I think we bought was a generator.
Okay.
Because, Chicago, you got ice, you got snow, you lose power, tornadoes, high winds. That was the first concern. And then when the wife and I decided, okay, it's time to start, I don't know, living the life of luxury. You go to the store, you're going to buy a pound of rice. Well, you buy two, and you put one away, and you use the second one. You're going to buy, a can of tomato stew or tomato soup. You buy two. And it didn't hurt economically that much. And you started building up your stores. And then you have to learn to rotate.
I think that's a great point, because a lot of people that I have talked to that said, man, I really have to kind of get into prepping, but it's going to be so expensive. And I think that everyone thinks that they have to go out and buy everything like at once. Like, hey, we're going to Sam's, we're going to Costco, and we're going to get 4 push carts full of stuff. And that's going to be our prepping stuff. We're going to take that home. And I think that what you just said might help a lot of people, because you don't have to go buy all the stuff tonight at Walmart. You buy something that you think, oh, that'd be nice to have in a case. We'll buy 2 of them, one for what you're going to do tonight. And then, like you said, then you start doing one thing at a time, and you start putting in there. Next thing you know, you've got a closet or a basement or a storeroom or whatever you're utilizing to store all your stuff full. And you realize, man, yeah, that was a lot easier than spending $300 or $1,000 at once. We're spending a little bit at a time, and it's going to add up.
It's like now I consider myself an opportunistic prepper. Sure. I went to Walmart today, and you know where I live, North Central Arkansas.
Yep.
Went to Walmart today, and I just wandered through the store looking to pick up stuff that was there. I found hickory smoked Spam, and a couple of my buddies have been harping on that, how great it is. Then I hit the toilet paper aisle. It was empty. And I just sort of chuckled. I got enough toilet paper put up for using it one time only, probably 6 months or a year.
Yep.
It's just I walk down the aisles, and if I see something that, hey, I could use that, I get it.
It's interesting when you bring up toilet paper, because we were at Walmart over the weekend, kind of getting stuff ready for Thanksgiving and all that. And we've got plenty of toilet paper. We got a lot of problems, but toilet paper ain't one of them. Not because we went and just bought everything. It's just, like you said, we're going to buy one, we're going to buy 2, and then we're going to, whatever. But the whole thing is empty. And it's like, this is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. But ironically, you go across the aisle into the baby section, and they've got cases of baby wipes that are full. So we just grabbed a big old case. We probably got, I don't know. I mean, there's like a shit ton of baby wipes in a box of baby wipes, a huge box of baby wipes. If you run out, baby wipes are going to work just fine. So there are ways to kind of get around it. Clover, I want to bring you in and say, what are some of the things in your mind when you first thinking of preparing or prepping? What are some of the first items that you automatically type? These are the go-to things.
Well, I think number one is knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, they go to tangible items, and just like the survivalist, right? That's all knowledge. So number one, I think, is knowledge. But while you're trying to obtain said knowledge, because that can take time to read and learn and whatever, I think it's already been mentioned. Just do little things here and there to start creating stockpiles. join your local grocer, food club, or whatever. Walmart's, the places like Walmart's, okay, they're all right, but I'm telling you, being a member of one of the food clubs with a local grocer, and then being able to take part in their sales,
Yeah.
is amazing. So keep an eye on those sales, and when they're canned goods are cheap, buy a case or two. You know,
Yeah.
and that's not going to come around very often. And then part of the knowledge of that is realize too that um, canned goods, dry goods, a lot of different things out there um, last far beyond their expiration dates.
Oh yeah.
So get accustomed to it's all part of the knowledge thing. Eat something or at least open it up, smell of it, try it. Don't eat the whole can because you don't want to get sick. But open it up, warm it up, try it, whatever. If it's 2 or 3 months past the expiration date, if it's a year past the expiration date, and then you've got that knowledge and
Yeah, what that shelf life
right,
is.
okay. And so playing into that knowledge, if we're talking about a scenario where we're talking about a more rural area, right? Suburb, you have wooded areas around, things of that nature, or you have access to some type of land, right? Even if you've got a really big backyard. Number one, the knowledge thing. Start growing things, even if you use, growing raised beds, growing hanging baskets, growing potted plants. Grow some peppers, grow some tomatoes, grow something. Figure out what grows in your area naturally, really well, without a whole lot of effort. Practice growing that, even if you only grow 1 or 2 plants a year or whatever. You've now got the experience and the knowledge of how to do that, and you're not trying to figure all that out in the midst of starving to death or in the midst of some global panic that's going on, or that situation, right, which is creating even more stress on yourself, right? Because now you got the stress of the situation, and then what am I going to do? Oh, well, I think I can do this. You don't know that you can do it. You're trying it, right? So you work out all those kinks. Same way, and I look at you when I say this. Hunting. I get it. I'm not into hunting. I don't want to hunt. This, that. I get it. But have you? Fishing is the same way. We can go down that road too. Have you caught a fish? Have you gutted a fish? Have you cleaned a fish? Have you cooked a fish? Right. And I get it, going out and squirrel hunting, but if it's available in your state, get a hunting license, get somebody, go dove hunting, go rabbit hunting, squirrel hunting, something small that you can skin, dress out, cook up, and you have that knowledge base at that time that you can do it. You don't ever have to go again. Don't. But at least you have that knowledge base where you're like, okay, if I have to do this, I know how to do it. Because there's no difference between fishing's a little different in cleaning fish. But as far as a squirrel, a rabbit, or a deer, or an elk, or a moose, there's really no difference in the process of dressing that animal out.
Sure. And that's one of the things I wanted to bring up is I think that most people think of prepping and all of that. They think the supplies. But there are things that you have to know. And it sounds crazy, but there are a lot of people that don't know how to make a fire. And I'm not talking about in your fireplace. Okay. I'm not talking about putting logs into newspaper in your fireplace. I'm talking about going outside and starting a fire. I'm not saying you have to do it with sticks or magnifying glass and all that. No, I'm just saying, can you start a fire? Do you know what it really takes to get wood burning, especially if it's possibly wet? There are things that you can do. And a lot of people say this, if you're going to have a generator, then you're probably going to have, let's say, you should probably get a diesel generator. But having diesel is a great way to get a big bonfire going. You don't have to use a lot of it, but diesel can get even a mixture of gas and diesel and all that. But if you're not familiar in how to start a fire, get some fire starters. That is one of the most primary things, because how are you going to cook sometimes if you're outside with no electricity? There are things that you're going to have to get. If you go down to the stream and get water, it sounds crazy, but most people don't realize you can drink that water out of the lake or out of the pond, sure. But what's even better is if you come up, you get it boiling for a little bit. That takes care of anything that's in there. Let it get cold and you can drink it. But if you don't know how to start a fire, We're talking about serious skill sets that you actually probably need to know. And there's something that are, dryer lint, the lint sheets. Those are the dry, not the lint, but dryer lint, but also the lint sheets. But the lint that you pull out of the dryer,
Save it.
save it, put it in a baggie. It sounds crazy, but that stuff will ignite a fire. I mean, there's
Yep.
a lot of different things that you can do, and you can make it fun. I was listening to Ellis's chat last night. And he had William Collins, who's a knife maker. And by the way, I'm going to go get one of his knives. They are gorgeous knives.
Yeah, they are.
They're gorgeous knives. But what I love about it, he's saying is that, take a kid out and take them outside, even just for a night. Put them in a tent outside, start a bonfire, teach them how to start a fire. Because not only if you need to learn how to start a fire, take your kids out there and your wife and say, we are going to learn how to build and start a fire with kindling, with some twigs, with all of that stuff. And you can find out how to do that on YouTube. It sounds crazy. There's YouTube videos for everything, but learning how to start a fire is going to be crucial. I love the fact that y'all brought up generators, because here's the thing. I think that there are different prepping for urban and rural. I think they're two different. You can almost prep completely opposite, possibly, depending on your environment. I think Clover brought that up earlier. But yeah, there are going to be a lot of things that you can do to prep it. It's not just the supplies. It's actually skill sets that you probably. I love the fact that you said grow something, whether it's green beans or tomatoes or potatoes, whatever it is. Potatoes seemingly, and I don't know, but seemingly potatoes seem to be one of the easiest things to grow. So maybe out there. I don't know.
Depends on where you live and if fire ants are bad where you're at, or ants in general. And so there's that's why I say you really need to. The ideal thing would be to go down to your farm and ranch store and just talk to those guys. Those guys sell seed, they sell fertilizer, they talk to farmers and ranchers all the time. So hit up your local farm and ranch store, go in there, talk to somebody of prominence, not just the checkout girl behind the counter. Get a manager or something like that. Or just talk to people that are coming in and out of the store, So yeah, just knowing people in your community and you can get information that way. I was going to bring up the dryer lint thing because that's a wonderful one. And Budget mentioned a good one, which was trapping. That's true. And I will concede the hunting because unless we're talking archery, which is a skill that I think everybody should have, hunting is going to be you're going to run out of ammo eventually. Now, assuming that you got the skill and things to make your own black powder, which can be done, and you've got a flintlock and a source of lead and fire, potentially you could still use something like a flintlock, but a bow is where it's at. And we're talking about a crossbow, too many moving components and stuff like that. So recurve bow is going to be the best. But to the trapping point, and that you and I had talked about this, I think, on the phone one time. There's something to be said about trapping because who was it? Idaho out there was talking about his beef and stuff. If you're able to trap, that doesn't mean that you're killing that animal.
Right. Right.
So you could essentially trap. Well, I mean, it could depending on the trap. But if you're live trapping, snares, snares and some other stuff like that, trap some animals, rabbits, right? Rabbits breed like crazy. We all know this. Trap you some rabbits, build you some rabbit hutches. All it takes is a little bit of lumber and some chicken wire, basically. And you've got a perpetual food source there. You've trapped the animals, you domesticated. That's what happened. Animals weren't historically just domesticated, Right. Somebody went out there and threw a rope around a cow the first time and drug him into a pasture and said, hey, I'm going to build a fence and keep this one. Oh, here, look, I can breed 3 or 4 more. Oh, I got a whole pasture of them now.
I guarantee dogs haven't always been man's best friend,
Right. So, squirrels, rabbits are just a great one because they're really easy to and all to domesticate.
Chickens
are great. You got to worry about predators with chickens, and that's the biggest problem I think with chickens. But there predators from the air and from the ground because you've got hawks and eagles and
As a matter of fact, I was outside at work a couple of days ago and I was talking with a guy, and literally all of a sudden a hawk swoops down and grabs a bird out of a tree and takes off
Mhm.
with it. I was like, what? And it was like 10 feet from us. We're like,
Yep.
because when a hawk flies, you notice it. It's not a normal bird. It's bigger. It's woof, woof. When it came in hot, and grabbed this thing and took off. We're like, holy hell, that just
Mhm.
happened. But anyway, so people out there, and this is another part I want to bring up, is a lot of people are out there talking about medications. I think it was Mandatory says his daughter's type 1 diabetic. How do you prep for that? People out there says, them or their family members have ailments that they need their medication. Obviously there are going to be, and I don't even know if, put it this way, there are times when you're only going to be able to get a certain supply of your meds. Okay. And we know that. We also know that there are other places you can get meds. And honestly, if you're looking to stockpile, you can order stuff online from Canada and just get a bunch of it in. If your doctor is only going to give you 2 months supply, well, maybe go up to Canada or you online through Canada and get 2 or 3 more months
Yep.
and just keep that on the side. If it's diabetics, anything needs to be refrigerated. Just make sure that if you've got medication that needs refrigeration and you don't have a generator, it's going to provide the power. Make sure that you've got a cooler with some ice things, dry ice, whatever, something that's going to be able to keep stuff cold. And it's medication is one. So yes, there are people that there is that aspect of their lives. I have like 4 or 5 different medications that I take for cholesterol, high blood pressure. They're not life threatening medications. Like if I don't have them now, eventually it's not going to be good, but those are not things. If
You don't know that.
you have heart, I'm just saying, but if you have diabetes, you have something that if you don't have, you will die. Then there are ways to make sure that you've got enough stockpiled if you need to.
So
Go ahead.
on medication.
Yeah.
So this may be unpopular, may hurt some feelings, but we take entirely too much medication as people.
I agree.
So the first thing that goes through my mind is if we get in a situation where we're dependent upon living upon the land, we're dependent upon stuff that we can stockpile. Most likely that stuff is not going to be filled with the preservatives and the additives and a lot of the other crap that honestly causes illness in the first place. So number one, if you can get into a more healthier lifestyle, it's going to benefit your overall health going into any of those situations regardless. So that's number one. Number two is I agree. I think that you're going to have enough medication to at least try to wean yourself into a more stable diet or whatever it might be in that situation. And then number three is something that a lot of people don't think about is animal medications. Seriously.
Yeah.
The only difference between a lot of animal medications and human medications is the refinement. And so certain things, animal medications, they work great. I mean, okay, they might have a little bit of a trace of iron in some of the antibiotics or some weird, something. But overall, once you can figure out dosages and things like that, I think you'd be good to go. Considerably cheaper, and usually easier to store as well.
Sure. Now, JMA brings up a great point. There are tons of wild meds that work as good as man-made meds. I would say wild/natural things that you can literally find online that are natural ways.
Again, knowledge
is huge, but there are ways. Now, we're not talking about if you're a type 1 diabetic, there's not a whole lot that's going to replace insulin. I get that. I understand that. So there are some of these, but a lot of the stuff, like you said, a lifestyle change or using herbal things. There are different ways that you can help your body get through this stuff.
It goes back into knowledge, right? It goes back into the knowledge of all of that, right. and you can find all of that information very easily. I mean, stuff like, I'm on a high blood pressure.
Fish antibiotics. Have you heard of that, Clover? By the way, fish antibiotics.
Anything about that? Maybe. You got to be careful with some of that. But yes, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard about it, and I agree with Clover. You got to be careful with a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah, you really got to look at the potential trace elements and a lot of the other things, and especially aquatic medications are really not the same as bipedal, land roaming medications. What was I going to say? It was something about, like, a lot of people don't eat quick and easy. It's something that you can grow and everything else, but like high blood pressure, cinnamon.
Yeah.
Literally cinnamon. It's that simple.
Yeah, and people don't realize garlic. Garlic can do a lot, and garlic pills and all that. But garlic can do is a really good natural thing for a lot of different things that can make you feel better. Just to give you an example, usually around Christmas time, usually it's right on Christmas time, I'll start on a normal year. I'll start my SHOT Show prep, and I'll take magnesium. I'll be taking some garlic and all of vitamins. And that's just to help usually prevent me from getting sick. And I haven't ever been sick at SHOT Show. Everyone else has been getting sick. And I know that you do the same thing. You're going to get sick if you get sick. Mm-hmm. But, there are a lot of natural herbal and natural ingredients out there that may not cure something, but they can definitely help prevent and do preventative maintenance out there. So, it'd be worth go take a look online and look at what are some natural herbal wild medications out there that you might not know about, or you might not think, well, that could do that. I didn't realize that, cinnamon being one, but garlic's another big one. There's a lot of stuff out there that you can find that will help you feel better and prevent other ailments or other sicknesses when you're having to maybe be outside for a month and all of that.
One thing, since we're on the medication, and we got to talk about, one of the things that falls into that is, because I contend if we ever get into the situation where the world falls apart, there's going to be people that have, like I said, unfortunately, they're going to succumb to it because they can't get the medications that they do require. Sure. The vast majority of people, I think, are going to keep on keeping on. But the problem is, what happens when you're out farming or you're out hunting or you're out trapping and you cut yourself and you don't have a hospital to sew you up? You don't have whatever it might be. Again, having the skills to do something like that, not only that, but as far as from a medical supply stance, and also maybe for a getting drunk stance for certain reasons, sure. Right? Taking the edge off, alcohol. And I know you got a lot of people out there, they may be alcoholics or they may, whatever, but, dead set against it, but there's a lot of uses for alcohol outside of consumption. So consider some of that as well.
So I want to kind of transition, and not that the medication and all of that isn't important, but I want to do transition because I was having a discussion with a group of people, and one was like money, save $5 or $10 a week and just put it away so you have a wad of cash. Nighthawk might be on a ham radio. Is that a ham?
No, I'm sorry. That's Cello. That's my board of directors meeting that I'm dodging right now.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute you real quick. And when you want to come in and talk, just unmute yourself, okay? But my thing about money is if you're in, and this is not going to be for every situation, if you're in a Red Dawn apocalyptic, money's going to mean nothing. You might as well use that to start your fire, honestly. There are going to be items, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's canned food, whether it's bottles of water. Currency is going to be a bartering system at that point. You're going to have to be able to trade and all of that. So interesting that the people were talking about was a good way to figure it out is, and you were talking about, can you live outside for a couple days and camp out and all that? Mm-hmm. I've also seen people say, turn off your electricity. Literally turn your electricity off. Like go to the power breaker and turn it off.
It happens enough around here throughout the year, without me turning it off. So I'm good.
But if you live in that urban area that doesn't happen very often, turn it off for 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And figure out what you guys can do, and it might be fun. You might actually have fun with your kids and your family trying to figure out ways. If you take them outside to teach them how to fish, you take them outside to teach them how to build a fire, you take them outside to, whatever. They actually might enjoy that over playing a video game. You might actually change kind of a lifestyle that they're having right now. Even when it's normal, they might, hey, being outside's kind of fun,
Well,
if you live in a house without electricity for 24 hours, maybe that's a start,
Well, if you think about when we grew up, I didn't grow up really with, there was arcades and there was NES and there was Atari and there was a lot of that older stuff. But I didn't grow up, and a lot of that was introduced. Like, I can remember when the Atari come out. I can remember when the NES come out, and that crap was fun, right?
Oh,
but I still played outside.
Oh,
I still did other things. You know what I mean?
And
it seems like nowadays the kids are just all so into video games and stuff. And I'm wondering, is that not a parenting issue where the parents are not turning that off, not unplugging, not saying, hey, get out and go do something else? And I think it is, because I know kiddos that are well-rounded because their parents do that. Their parents, hey, let's go hunting, or let's go fishing, or let's go camping, or let's go do this. Right. And so, yeah, I think, don't fall into that trap to where luxury is expected.
Yeah.
Clover, if I may, as you were speaking, you sort of used two different scenarios. One of them, tell the kids to get outside and do something. And the second one is the more important. Go outside with the kids and do something.
With them.
It's true.
Absolutely. I think that kids these days probably just and I know I didn't, but I don't think any kid likes to be told what to do. But instead of saying, hey, go outside and do this, let's say, hey, let's all go outside and we're going to suffer through this together. We're going to do this together, but we're going to all go outside and we're going to do this, that, and the other. And I think that that's a great way. Once again, if most kids, I just have a sneaky suspicion that most kids don't know how to start a fire. They don't know, they don't understand. They don't know how to collect water if there's not a water source around. And it's simple as tarps and milk jugs, or tarps and buckets. If you've got a tarp that you're going to set up with ropes on a couple tree limbs to kind of give you a little place, the drier place to sleep, put that tarp at an angle. It's real simple as putting it at an angle. And when it rains, you can kind of fold that tarp a little bit and then have it literally fall into buckets. There's all sorts of ways that you can collect water, but most people aren't going to think about, and this is just something you have to go to survival school for. This is just something that is pretty common sense stuff if you really do think about it.
Now, I don't. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I wanted to backtrack a minute when you were talking about money. And I don't see situations. I see a lot of situations where prepping and stuff like that is going to come into play. I don't see any situation that is just permanent apocalypse. I just don't. That's far-fetched. I mean, can it happen? Sure. But I think the probability on that is fairly low. So odds are things are going to crash, things are going to go bad, and then things are going to build back up, right? I mean, look at the Great Depression, for example. I mean, just look at how much died off, went away, and then we come back even stronger, right? And so when you're talking about money, I think this is where people get lost on the idea of gold and silver.
Yeah.
Getting gold and silver now is going to put you in a financial situation when you make it through that hard time. You're going to come out on the other side being one of the richest people in your city, your county, your state. You know what I mean? Because you've got something tangible, rare and tangible, that sure, in a panic situation like that has no value. You can't eat it, right? You can't drink it. But we're out of that now. And the economies and everything else has to be built off of and valued by a certain way. And what's the standard that's been the standard for, well, until the U.S. decided for whatever reason and everybody else to get off of it. But what is the proven standard, right, for the monetization system? Absolutely. It's gold. It's gold, right? It's precious metals. So there is a place for that. And that's for the people that, you need to prepare to survive all of that first. Once you have that out of the way, I would highly suggest squirreling back some gold and silver, even if it's junk gold jewelry, junk silver jewelry, junk silverware that you pick up at the flea market, whatever, but precious metals.
Yeah.
I also get back to money. Stockpile, let's say a month worth of cash. And I hate to keep going to a nice storm, but they're rather popular in Arkansas. We were 17 days without power.
Yep.
Walmart was 17 days without their electronic debit card reader.
Yep.
So if you can walk into a store and actually pay cash and you happen to hit a cashier that can figure it out without the register, you're good.
Well, and take it even a step further than that and go, we're not even talking about a bad situation. We're not talking about, tornadoes. We're not talking about blizzards. We're not talking about hurricanes. We're talking about you lost your freaking job in a good economy, and you'll have a job. You get a job in 2 weeks, but then it's 2 weeks and before you're able to collect a paycheck, right? So savings account and having money put back is not a bad thing, because you never know. I mean, you need at least, and most people say 3 months, 6 months, something like that. But it's silly not to have, the paycheck to paycheck. I get it, but do your best to squirrel back a month's worth. Buy yourself a little bit of peace of mind.
Let's kind of go down, and I like where that was going, because that was going to be my next topic was, prepping. We're talking about prepping for natural disasters, obviously the apocalypse, Red Dawn stuff, whatever. But scenarios that actually could take place, the natural disasters, the hurricanes, tornadoes, a fire, electricity going out for 17 days. But there's also the other side, losing your job. What if you lose your house? Because there are people out there that are homeless that were executives in corporations at one point. It happens. It doesn't happen a lot, but anything can happen. Once again, if you're going to have to leave your home and you don't have anywhere else, you don't have any money stockpiled, you better learn how to survive. Hold on real quick. Budget's $2 super chat. Thank you. Says read 1 second after by William R. Forston. So if you're out there,
Amen.
check. I haven't read it. I think that I'll go get the audiobook and start listening to that. And a lot of people out there are saying lead is good as well. I guess they're talking about gold and silver.
I'm muted. Lead is only good if you have a muzzle loader. If you have, when we're as far as the society, we're starting to get away from lead. So I don't know in what situation lead. I don't get me wrong. I hoard lead. I hoard lead because I cast, and I hoard lead because I do cast, and I see the potential for everything to go leadless, and so the price of lead actually goes up because it's a rarity. Nobody is really recycling it or doing anything with it anymore, right? But as far as a commodity on the back end of some type of a major ordeal that goes on worldwide, I don't know that we revert back to using lead for stuff at that point. Technology, we've learned processes and technology. You know what I mean? I just don't see us going. That'd be like, okay, we're all going to wear loincloths and grunt and run around and be hairy. We're not going to come out of that and degrade, I don't think, as a society. I think we're going to pick up where it went south and move from there. So there are reasons to hoard lead. And if you're talking about lead in the sense of ammunition, then yeah, absolutely.
So this is going to sound crazy, and Warsaw, there's someone getting air mattresses that are designed for your vehicle. I say no to that, and let me explain why. One, air mattresses, even if deflated, pressure sealed, and folded up, they still take up a pretty large amount of space, especially if you've got a family of 3 or 4.
And they're heavy.
They're heavy, and you really, what are you going to do at the end of the day? It sucks to blow those things up. Then you don't have power and all that. This is going to sound crazy, but it serves a couple different purposes. You can go to a Dollar General or some dollar store and buy rafts that you literally lay on in pools for $1. And those things, it takes you 3 minutes to blow up. Anyone can, blow up a little pool raft, but it's enough cushion to make it more. You're not looking to sleep at the Ritz, but it does make it more comfortable to sleep on than the hard ground. Those can fold up into this. I mean, very, very small. More importantly than that, and go with me on this, but if you're near a water source, a pond or a lake, and you want to go fishing or you need something, you can take the raft that you sleep on and you can take it into the middle of the pond where it's deeper, where the fish might be, because it's cold. If it's hot in the summer, they might be down deeper because it's colder weather. And you can literally go on a raft and go fishing out in the middle of the pond, come back and go sleep on that same raft later that night. A raft is going to do a lot more for you than an air mattress, because the air mattress is good for one thing, and that is sleeping. A raft, you can do a lot of things. If a raft bursts, you get a little hole in it. Guess what? You get your knife, you cut that, and now you've got another tarp. So a raft you can get for very, very cheap, and I think a raft is much better than an air mattress. That's just me. What do you guys think about sleeping conditions? Air mattresses or sleeping pad, or do you guys? Is that something you guys think about with what you're going to sleep on, or are you just going to go wherever you got to go?
Well, I've got a pickup truck with an 8-foot bed and a cap on it. I've got a little pad in the back. It's designed to, that's where I'm going to sleep if I have to.
Yep. Would you take an air mattress, or are you going to use that pad that's back there already?
I'm going to use the pad that's there because it may just be my Adonis-like physique, but I happen to sweat on an air mattress quite a bit.
Yeah, I hear you. What about you, Chloe?
I don't totally agree with the whole air mattress versus the raft thing.
Okay.
Because I think that you could use an air mattress as a raft. I don't see why you couldn't. We float around on them in swimming pools and in lakes all the time.
It might float. I don't know. But
it's gonna float. I mean, you see the big air mattresses that they use on the lakes and then the big swimming pools and stuff like that. You got 3 or 4 people laying out on them and all of that, right? That's an air mattress. And to the thing about cutting it and using it for a tarp, patches and stuff are cheap to fix those. So if you've got stuff like that, invest. I mean, how many rips and holes are you going to put in it? I mean, realistically, you got something really bad going on. You're rolling around and using it in a really bad river or pond or something with a lot of stumps, maybe.
Let's say that the average cheap air mattress you can get for $20, right? $20. That's a lot of stuff you can get for $20, including 4.
That's true. But I've seen twin air mattresses. I've seen twin air mattresses on clearance. And here's where we get back into the mindset of I don't need this now. Yeah. And I think Nighthawk alluded to this, where it's like I don't need this now, but twin air mattresses are on clearance for $5 a piece.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy 2 twin air mattresses. You know what I mean?
It's something as simple as this, and I've got a buddy of mine that is a prepper. He's a former Navy guy. I'll just say that. That's as far as I'll go with that. But he is that guy that will, let's say he goes to Sam's or Walmart or wherever, and they've got those little small, when I talk about those little small charcoal grills that cost like $10, $5, $10, just cheap square charcoal grills. So he calls me one time. This is years ago, and he says, "Hey, Walmart's got a sale for buy one get one on these grills." And so I said, he says, "Do you need any?" And I was like, he ended up getting like 4 of them for the price of 2. And people say, "Why would you buy 4 grills? Why wouldn't you at that point? If they cost you $5 or $10 for 4 grills, those things fold up. You can put them in the back of a pickup. You can have them staged all over. And once again, we're talking about cooking. We're talking about heat, especially this time of year. Heat is going to be crucial. Water, food, and heat are going to be crucial. So it's one of those things where, and you don't have to use charcoal. Now, what I would say about charcoal is charcoal, especially if you can find the charcoal that's got the fluid already on there where it's easy light. You don't have to pour any lighter fluid on there. It's already got the stuff. You just put a match on it, lights up. get several bags of those. Keep those. Those are great ways to start fires as well. I mean, there's you utilize stuff all the time, but you never probably think about, oh man, this would be a great idea if we were camping out, or what
Also,
if, go ahead.
charcoal is also water filtration.
Water, as we say, it's water filtration.
Sewage filtration. If you're talking about a aerobic system that maybe you're watering a garden with, something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, sand, glass, charcoal. There's all sorts of stuff that you could utilize soap for so many different things. Sand is a wonderful thing because it can fit into whatever form, just like water. It can fit into whatever shape it needs to fit, but it could be something to weight down. It could be a barrier to keep you dry, stop water. It could be, all sorts. You can build a house with sand bags. There's all sorts of stuff you can do.
And you wouldn't necessarily have to prep the sand, but
exactly
having the bags on hand wouldn't be a bad deal. And you're right. You could almost build a sand igloo almost.
Yeah. Someone's asking, I think it was Buck, how do you like the ham radio? So actually I was on I got off the phone. I was on Clover's which one was that? Was that the Lounge? That was the Lounge podcast, I think, right? And right after that, I went, and there is a group. It's about 45 minutes from me, and I wasn't sure if this was going to reach it. That get together every Monday night. So I turned to the frequency. Sure enough, they were on, and I was chatting with them in the Facebook chat. They have a Facebook chat going at the same time for people that don't have their license like me yet, or don't feel comfortable chatting on these things yet. So I was chatting with them and all that, and I found out some very useful information. Like these guys a lot, and but I have really enjoyed listening. I'm really looking forward to hopefully getting my tech license here pretty soon. Not saying that I'm going to be on this 24/7, but it's nice to have. It's nice to know. And this is one of the things I was going to bring up about ham radios for prepping. Whether you go get your license or not, to be able to talk. When we talk about this, is a ham radio. Anyone can listen on one of these things. This costs, I think, $27 on Amazon. It'll reach 45 miles from here through a repeater and all that. But for under $30, you can have a ham radio. Anyone can listen anywhere, anytime. It is all good. And able to talk, and it's off right now, but able to transmit or actually talk to someone, you have to have a license, like $15 for 10 years, and it's apparently it's a pretty easy test. Clover and I have been studying. We're probably taking our tests in the next couple of weeks or whatever. It seemingly is kind of a common sense type stuff. There are some technical stuff and all that.
Yeah, that's what's getting me.
Survive. You can put this on NOAA, which is the weather. It will tell you what's going to happen the next few days of the weather. You can talk to emergency management in your area, the sheriff's dispatch, the police and fire dispatch, EMT, and you can find out with the public works, which roads are closed and all that. They're all on this stuff. By the way, this is someone asked me this. This is a Baofeng UV5R, Baofeng, $27 shipped. It's awesome. So the great thing about something like this is also, even if you don't have your license to talk, if it's an emergency, you can talk. If you don't have a license and it's an emergency, and you can go get on your EMT or your emergency or your fire or your sheriff's dispatch, you just start emergency. My house is on fire, or something's happened. I need fire. I need medical. I need something. Here's my address. You will not get in trouble whatsoever if it's an emergency. So these right here is something that I was not into until about a week ago. And I'm really enjoying it. And I think that if you're going to prep, I think having one of these, and whether or not you ever use it or not, having one and knowing how to use it will help. If you lose power, you lose cell service, you're in a place that it has no cell service. These things are going to work on radio waves, and you will be able to talk to a lot of people and get your message out if you need an emergency. So absolutely, I would recommend a ham radio. What do you guys think about either CB radio or ham radios, or what?
Go ham. CB, you're talking about for what you're getting
Very
in the
short, yeah.
in the distance. Um, that's the issue with CB now is just you don't have the distance that you do with the ham radio.
Yeah.
Again,
But
it
hold on real quick. I'll come to you, Nighthawk, in just a second. Budget says, I know Ghost mentioned charcoal with lighter fluid in it. No, I was not saying the charcoal with lighter fluid. You do not want to use that
Yeah.
as a filter.
Yeah.
Obviously not. Yeah. Sorry, Nighthawk. Go ahead.
yeah, that's aside from the ham radio, there's also FRS, which is
Mhm.
Family Radio Service. It's the little bubble
Walkie-talkie.
packs
Yeah.
you buy at Walmart or whatever. And there's
Yep.
also GMRS, General
Mhm.
Mobile Radio Service. That's a $70 license, no test. The license is good for 10 years and it covers your entire family.
Yep.
And as GMRS is becoming more popular, there are repeaters appearing around, which greatly enhances your distance.
Yep. Matter of fact, we have 3 repeaters in our county, and apparently one of them was just converted to be GMRS. So, yeah, I'm just starting to learn all this stuff. But yeah, GMRS. A lot of people around here are doing GMRS instead of ham radio stuff. So, it's maybe I don't know. But yeah, either way, just having communication, and that's what this is about. Like I said, for less than $30, you can get this, but having a way to communicate when your cells are down and all of that, having a way to communicate, especially in an emergency, is going to be crucial.
So I
go ahead.
talked to a buddy here. I called because I wanted to ask him about testing in
Mhm.
the area, and we had a conversation. He kind of went over my head with a lot of stuff. I'll be honest with you, but he's been on
Right.
ham since like he was a teenager. And I've been around it. I've just never gotten into it and decided,
Sure. Yeah.
with everybody else doing it now, why not?
Yeah.
But talking with him, Budget out there says that a lot of ham guys look down on the Bofangs. Hosh is huge into it, and Hosh doesn't look
He's
down
the one
on
that told
people.
me that this is a
Yeah.
good one. He
Yeah.
said this is a good one. It's
And-
entry level, but a lot of
and-
people go years with this thing.
None of the folks that I've ever talked to, I've never talked to a ham person. And like I said, I know tons of them, and we've had this conversation, even though I wasn't looking into it at the time. But they've never talked bad about some of the cheaper radios that's out there, and even have recommended a few other brands. Now they will tell you this brand is what they like. They, and maybe you want to gradually upgrade to that or something, but it depends on your use. It too is what they'll say. If you're talking about, mainly for emergency purposes, just farting around, playing around with it or something, why spend hundreds of dollars on a radio?
I've heard Hash say, if you make contact with somebody and they say, you're using a bow thing, and they say, hey, what kind of radio are you using? Just tell them you're using a Yaesu. They won't know the difference. They can't tell.
I don't care what people think of me, so I'll say I'm using this cheap bow thing. And you don't like it, suck it.
I'm with you on that, but
yeah, no, I hear you. Morse code, Morse code is something. There's always something you can do with Morse code that people can get. Morse code you can utilize, I guess, on this for sure, but I don't know. I don't know. I haven't gotten into it that deeply. I don't know how much Morse code is being used on amateur radio frequencies. I don't know. But yeah, if you can learn Morse code, it's nice to have it just in case, especially if you needed a coded message maybe to get to someone that very well could help out in a situation,
there's a lot more Morse code used on shortwave.
Sure.
The extreme long distance, low power stuff.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. But yeah, communication, a way to communicate when this isn't available for whatever reason. If this is something that is very, very, very important to your life, you might want to make sure that you've got, I've probably got literally 10, 15 portable chargers. and make sure those are always charged up, and if this is going to be something, I'd tell you what I have that it's in my vehicle. We have had for a long time, and it's great. But it plugs into your cigarette lighter in your car. Okay. And my cigarette lighter is actually one of those that doesn't have to have the car engine on for it to get power, which is nice. But it plugs in the cigarette lighter, but it's a big cord. It's about that big, and it's got 3 or 4 USB cords, but it also has an AC plug on it. And you can literally plug this laptop into that, into my car, and it's going to work. It's going to charge. It's going to do all that. So you might want to start thinking about stuff like that to power. Oh, it has. I mean, my wife has used her.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying you've got to be mindful of a few things. You've got to be mindful of the fusible link off of that AC on your vehicle, and you've also got to be mindful of the wattage that whatever you're plugging in is pulling. Like the one you're talking about, you plug like a power drill into it, it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. And I'll tell you how I learned this. I never really realized how much power things pulled, but back when we did 4-H, we would do all the parades, right? And so they was like, let's do a float, blah, 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 blah. So we just used the cheap, $5 from the dollar store Christmas lights, right? And I don't know how many strands, but it was like 10 or 12 strands of those lights. And I had a fairly big inverter. It was like 150 or 250 watt. It would not pull those lights. It would not pull like 10 strands of Christmas lights. We went to Walmart and I thought, oh crap, it's not pulling. So we went to Walmart and bought LED Christmas lights, right? LED, not regular bulb. And my little one that I would typically use for like you're talking about has the USB and it'll charge like a laptop or a tablet or something. It would pull the same amount of strands of LED lights. So be mindful of the wattage and buy your inverter accordingly.
Yeah, speaking of the LED lights, a great way to light up a room in your house during a power outage. LED lights and a 12-volt battery.
Or a solar panel setup that has a battery setup.
I've got over on Amazon, on my Amazon thing, just once again, Google Amazon Ghost Tactical to pull up my Amazon page. There's a survival gear list there. And I think I found one that was a foldable solar panel. It's like $40. And is it going to do a lot of stuff for you? No, but it could be very beneficial for getting power for very crucial things. It's not gonna replace a generator, which let's be frank about it, but it is going to help power or charge certain things that are going to be necessary to get power to. So a solar panel, absolutely. I think that is a great idea. Go ahead. Sorry. Hand crank flashlights, absolutely. Hand crank flashlights. There's all sorts of stuff that you can think of. It the whole purpose of starting out with this, and I think Clover and Nighthawk have both mentioned it several times. It's preparing for not now. It's preparing for hopefully never, but preparing for something just in case. And it means doing a little bit here. And like I said, you don't have to go to Costco and buy all of this crap for one night and say, all right, here's our survival gear or here's our survival supplies. No, it's a little bit at a time. Instead of buying like Nighthawk said, instead of buying 1 can of chicken noodle soup, buy 2 cans. But one of them back here, use this one or whatever. Screaming Skull Saloon says, I have a solar powered flashlight that has been working for years, low power, but it's better than nothing. Yeah. It might not be an LED that you can get that's going to have 1,000 lumens, but it's going to get light for you. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Hans just got in here and he says, have we covered fire starter Lent? Yeah, we've already talked about Lent. Great way to start a fire. Let's see here. Is there anything? Yeah, go ahead.
Get back to fire starting. You want to have fun? You'd be amazed how long a Frito corn chip burns to start a fire.
Yep.
1.
Yep.
Oh man, throat was dry. Sorry. Frito
and smell pretty good doing it too.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Naval lint for fires. Well, lint's lint. if you've got enough lint in your belly button to start a fire, then hey, more power to you. But yeah, lint is a very good one. I'm trying to think. Oops. Basically a candle. Sure. I mean, candles are great, but once again, you're talking about things that a candle is great to have. But unless you've got a bunch of candles, that's not going to last you very long. You know, you light a candle at 10 o'clock at night, that thing's out by probably 1 or 2 in the morning. You know, if it's a good candle, you know. So
LED lighting is an awesome, like I said, you can get like Harbor Freight. I mean, you can get solar panels and you can get car batteries, like a deep marine battery, for example.
Yeah.
And trickle charge that with a deep marine battery with a solar panel, and then use what you're saying, a little bitty inverter off of that,
right.
and power, you know, LED lights. I mean, just like crazy.
Yeah, this literally right here, and it's a cheap thing. Got it at Walmart. 99 cents. It's an LED flashlight. 99 cents.
Not worth replacing the batteries then, is it?
Hell no. I probably got 10 of these spread out throughout the house. If I lose them, I lose them. Once again, is it going to be something that's going to light up the whole forest? No. Is it going to be able to get you down somewhere if you're lost or you're by yourself and you see someone, you hear someone, you need help, to flash that for help and all that? Morse code, once again. That's all this is going to be used for, but it works. And you don't have to have the best products of anything. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can get very, very inexpensive things that are going to help you live or survive. So that's really kind of what I really wanted to get to at the end was, you know, you don't have to spend a lot of money. I think people are thinking, man, it's going to be an expensive thing. You can spend as much money, but a lot of money, it means different things to different people. A lot of money for some people is $1,000. A lot of people, some people is $100. You know, it's just one of those things. Spend what you can a little at a time, but you can get things for very, very inexpensive. You can literally go to Amazon and type survival gear or camping gear or outdoor gear or survival items. You can go to an Army surplus store and buy MREs for cheap. You can buy a case of them. They have civilian MREs or whatever, but you can buy a case of MREs. You can buy a lot of the stuff that you would need for like a canteen, or you can buy a lot of stuff at Army surplus stores. A lot of stuff. People don't think about that. They think, oh, I'm not, you know, that's milk. No, that is survival gear. That's what that is survival gear. You can go buy an Army surplus store. You can go buy some cold weather gear. You can buy all sorts of stuff for very, very, very cheap that you'd be surprised at what you could find at Army surplus stores. Nighthawk, I'm going to start with you. We've covered a lot of stuff, and thanks for jumping on. But, you know, looking back over your 20 years that you kind of started your prepping thing, what are some of the things that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started that you could give out there to people who are just beginning this journey?
Well, the first thing is buying that 100-pound bag of beans is not a good investment, especially if you don't like beans. You can only barter so much for them. Just do it slow. Think. Don't buy food you don't like. You know. And do it slowly, a can or two at a time, a bag or two at a time. If you see something on sale, grab it.
Yep.
You may never use it, but let's hope you never use your health insurance or your car insurance either.
Yep.
You know, it's just being ready, being prepared for anything.
That's an interesting way of thinking about it. You know, there's an old joke. I don't know if you guys like Chris Rock or not, but when Chris Rock, when he was uber famous, he was he's in the middle of all that stuff. He had a really great stand-up, and he said insurance is basically should be called in case shit. That's what prepping is this is survival insurance. You're creating an insurance policy for you and your family that you'll be able to survive anywhere from 72 hours to 2 weeks or a month. This is an insurance policy that you're setting up for yourself to ensure the survival of your loved one. So that's a great way of looking at it. Absolutely. Go ahead. Anything else you want to bring up, Nighthawk?
Yeah, don't go on any TV shows like Survival Preppers or anything. You'll wind up going to jail.
Yeah. Hans out there says, one prep tool I have for hunting is a good slingshot. Then went to kids' toy section, got a couple bags of marbles, can hunt rabbits, squirrels, etc. Small game. All sorts of stuff. Sure. I mean, it's something as simple as that. If you don't want to, if you've got a bunch of 22 or whatever, you don't want to waste any ammo for hunting small game. Sure. Something like that. Could definitely be worth it for sure.
Pellet gun.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. AJ fails at mass says, what's happening? I have no idea. We just kind of went live and people showed up. So, Screaming Skull OPSEC is crucial too. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you want to, there are going to be things that you and your family are going to want to keep within you and your family. Here's the problem with telling everybody you're a prepper. What's going to happen when shit goes downhill? Everyone's going to come to you. So I'm not saying don't tell people, but there are going to be certain things and protocols that you probably want to kind of keep within the family and all that. I have a lot of people that say, if shit goes downhill, I know where I'm going. I'm going to Trey's house. Motherfucker, you better not come to my house.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, you better bring something I want.
Right. You're not just going to show up to my house and expect me to take care of your ass. It is what it is. Clover, I want to start with you. And we, like I said, we've covered a lot of stuff. Is there something that we missed that you wanted to talk about? I know there were some things you wanted to talk about earlier. I can't remember what they were, but if we have some stuff you want to bring up now, we got plenty of time. We're not closing this down. I just want to kind of make kind of a good place to stop in and say we might have missed some stuff.
One thing that's really cool and really easy to do. One thing we haven't talked about is we kind of did at the very first when I was talking about the old school way of doing things and was talking about farming, and one of those aspects is canning.
Yeah.
And canning can seem really complex, but let me throw this out there because it's really not, other than buying some mason jars and having access to an oven. Dry canning is extremely simple. And you can buy, let's say, breakfast cereals, anything that's dry, right? So breakfast cereals, pasta, potato chips, crackers. Now, obviously, it's got to fit in the mason jar. So, oyster crackers work good for that. You can fill one up pretty good, that sort of thing. And dry can. And that stuff, I can testify that 5, 6, 7 years later, that stuff's fine. Yeah. And you can do that kind of stuff now, right now. Sure. Mason jars are not that expensive. Next time that they have some potato chips, some cereals, some crackers that are on clearance or something like that, buy you some mason jars, buy you those things, can them, dry can them, put them back in a closet somewhere and forget about them.
Yep.
And then 5 or 6 years, 3 years from now, whatever, take them out and try one. You're going to have to give it some time, obviously, but seriously, try it. It's easy to do. It preserves stuff.
Cheerios will last a long time, man. And you can fit a lot of Cheerios into those jars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And especially if you're getting them on clearance or whatever.
Whatever, those.
They're about to go out of date, So that's what we did. My wife extreme coupon for a while. And so we would have so much stuff that there would be stuff going out of date. And that's honestly wasn't even a prepper thing. That's where we kind of got into the dry canning because stuff was starting to go out of date. And for dry goods like that, it'll go stale. It's not like a canned good or something sealed, right? It'll go beyond its expiration date oftentimes in ideal conditions, but it will eventually go stale. You dry can it, it won't.
Yep. Yeah, if you get that, and I'll tell you another thing that people have in this recent years, and I think we've still got one. We don't use it for a lot, but we have one. Is one of those air sealers. Like you put food or whatever, and you air seal. You suck all the air out, and it seals it up, and dry seal, whatever you call it. Put in the freezer
vacuum
and all
sealer.
That. Yeah, those are really good because air is what causes a lot of the issues with food. Is air.
Yeah.
Bacteria in the air and all that. If you can dry can it, you get the air sealing thing. It's going to food lasts a lot longer.
Problem I have with air sealing is that once you rip that bag open, it's done. So that's an
Absolutely.
expendable resource, unlike a mason jar. Number two
Absolutely.
is critters can get into that, unlike a mason jar.
Oh no, I'm not saying do that instead of mace.
So,
I'm just saying that some
yeah,
people
no,
will
I'm
do
saying
that
if somebody
and it
is
takes
thinking,
it
hey,
away.
I'm gonna use a vacuum sealer, blah 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 blah, just realize that you've got extra supplies and it's not gonna secure your food storage. You can't bury it. There's a lot of things you can't do with it.
There's a lot to be said is and I'm not saying do this, but you can go and what's it, Omaha Steaks, let's say, okay? If you got a couple $100 and you're saying, I want to make sure that my food's taken care of if I want meat, if that's your deal and you want meat, you can go to Omaha Steaks and get a pack of steaks, different stock, different cuts, different, sizes, all that. But you can get a bunch of steaks and they're going to come air sealed and all that. You put those in a freezer, they'll last you a year. So if that's something you want and you want to have already beef where all you would have to do, and you can even do that yourself. You can go ahead and get a bunch of steaks, get one of those air sealers, cook the steaks so they're already cooked. They're not raw, they're already cooked. Air seal them, put them in the freezer. Then you can put them outside on a skillet, on a campfire, or whatever, and you can have your beef if that's what you want. I'm just saying that there are things you can do. You can live as comfortably as you want, but there are ways you can do it. You can pre-cook a lot of food, air seal it, dry can it, whatever you want to do, and still have decent food. There's a lot of things you can do. So let's see here. Budget says he can't find any supplies around here right now, though, and I think that's probably
It's time of year is part of it. It's kind of like same we talked with ammo and stuff. You're talking about the summer growing months. All of that is over now, and what are people doing? They're putting up. So
but he likes dehydrated stuff too. there are dehydrators. You can get dehydrator little fruits and vegetables.
Oh,
that,
dude,
obviously,
the freeze dryers that are out there are pretty freaking sweet. I mean, they're pricey, but freeze dried is awesome.
Yeah. You were talking about something early on the show, and you said we'll talk about it later. I don't remember what it was, but did we talk about what you wanted to cover?
We talked about hunting. We talked about canning. We talked about farming. We talked about
generators or anything. We talked about everything that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, one thing with generators, and this is not what it is, but since you brought that up, I didn't mention this earlier, and I was going to. One thing I think you need to learn with generators, a lot of people have propane generators. Usually that's hooked up that come on automatic is propane generators or natural gas. And so the lights go out, it comes on, it just runs until the lights come back on because the lights eventually come on. At the point that the lights are no longer, you don't know when they're going to come back on, then you need to be mindful of how much fuel you're expending with that generator and make it last. So what you want to do is charge only the necessities and do it in a fashion that is energy efficient for your generator, because the load on your generator will dictate the amount of fuel that it uses. And so, just charge use it long enough to keep the temperature pulled down in your freezer. Screw your refrigerator. Don't even worry about your refrigerator. Move your stuff from your refrigerator into your freezer, and then worry about keeping that freezer, the temperature pulled down overnight in most places. I guess if it was, your lights went out for several days or God forbid weeks in the Arizona desert or something like that, you're kind of screwed, right? But most places overnight, as long as nobody's opening that freezer and you've got it pulled down and cold, it's fine overnight. Couple of hours on a generator at most during the day, and it'll stay cold. So just management, I guess, is what I'm saying. Learn to manage the stuff that you've got.
Absolutely. Interesting thing that I was listening to Midnight Range's show Sunday night, and he had another cook on there. I don't think he was a chef. He was just the blind griller or something like that was on there with him. They were talking about Thanksgiving stuff, but they were talking about coolers, like coolers. And he said that they don't like the name cooler because they're just as good to hold heat in than it is cold in. So you could utilize
Yep.
What Midnight was saying is if you get a heating pad, and if you have access to a generator, you have access to power, you get a heating pad and put that on the bottom of a cooler, and you put stuff that need to stay warm.
Yep.
Close that cooler. It's going to be a great heat source to keep things warm as well. So,
Yep.
So it's just interesting that people, there, like I said, there are several things that people usually don't think about. That if you need to keep something hot, or you need to keep something cold in a crazy situation. And I like what you said, Clover, was if you have a generator, let's prioritize what we're going to keep the power going to. And I like the fact that you said, screw the refrigerator, keep the freezer going. I like that because you can put stuff in a refrigerator, in a freezer, and then let it thaw out if you need to, but you can't keep things to be frozen in a refrigerator. So prioritizing is a good thing as well. I like that.
I'm sorry. First of all, the fuller something is, right? Be it a refrigerator or a freezer or even a cooler, the fuller it is, the less it takes to keep it cold.
Sure.
So if you move that stuff from the refrigerator into your freezer, you fill your freezer up
so
more.
much air left to keep cold.
And then with opening it up during the day to get a drink out or to do whatever
Mhm.
you need to do, right? You want to minimize opening as much as possible. But it's very likely that the stuff you put in there from the refrigerator is not going to freeze. It's just not.
This is something that, this time of year when it's getting down to the, 34, 33, 35, not quite freezing outside, especially like around Thanksgiving, you have so much food left or whatever. We'll take the milk jugs, the tea jugs, the Kool-Aid jugs, the water jugs out of the fridge and put them on the back deck at nighttime because it's going to be 34 degrees. Let nature be your refrigerator at that point. So there's also things you can think about doing that as well. So this is one of the things. I don't consider myself a prepper. I am not at that level. I'm very interested in aspects. I don't want to become this prepping survivalist that lives on the land. I don't want to be off the grid unless I had to. I don't want to be off the grid. Trust me. But I am very much interested into certain things that you can do very easily and very cheaply to have just in case shit, and so I don't want anyone out there to think that I consider myself a prepper because I don't. I'm not someone that if you have prepping questions, I mean, I can answer some stuff for you, but I'm probably going to pass you on to someone that I know has been doing this for a long time, like Nighthawk or Clover or Jacob over at Prepper Bunker Outdoors or Alaskan Preppers or one of the guys is going to come on. I talked to him today. He couldn't make it tonight. He already had something going on, but he's going to come in the next week or two from Prepper Nation. It's a great podcast about pressure. Go check that. Just search for Prepper Nation on YouTube, and great stuff. They put stuff out several times a week, and it's really cool chats and all that. But
so
yeah,
Adhera out there brings up sewing.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I talked about earlier knowledge. I kind of let off with that. And so, one of the other things, and sewing is one of them. Learn, it's just like when I said everybody needs to have the experience and the knowledge base with hunting and as Budget brought up, trapping and sewing, as it here says, working on your own vehicle, being able to do things yourself, right? Yes, you may pay a guy to do things or pay a woman to do things, but
you know how to do them. Yeah.
Every now and then, do it yourself, right? Do you know how to run power tools or use power tools? Do you know how to use hand tools, even basic hand tools? Which goes into, you were talking about bug out vehicle, and you could attest to this because basic hand tools.
Yeah.
Basic hand tools, because what if you're in a situation to where, I don't know, let's say you're in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and your alternator goes out.
That's right.
You're screwed. I mean, if you don't have, even if you had the knowledge, if you had the tools and somebody had the knowledge, works the same with medical equipment and a lot of other things we talk about. If you had the tools, even if I didn't have the tools, we could have changed your alternator.
Yeah.
And the reverse being true, right?
Mhm.
So as long as you've got the tools and the knowledge in the same place at the same time, optimally that needs to be you. But as long as that's in the same place at the same time, then you're
Mhm.
ahead of the game. And so it doesn't cost much for a socket set, a set of wrenches, a couple of, um, literally $100 in tools. And you can pretty much work on the vast majority of things you need to work on a vehicle or any other piece of equipment for that matter.
There are people, I want to get you both of your opinion on this, and I have not, but I know that a lot of people will keep an extra car battery or boat battery
Mhm.
lying around because you can utilize marine batteries. Are just a lot. You can use those extra batteries to power a lot of things. You may not be for a long time or a lot, but it can be used as a power source.
Yep.
What do you guys think about keeping car or marine batteries around just in case?
Yep, absolutely. And marine batteries, the car batteries marine batteries are designed in a way because boats sit around a lot, right?
Right. Exactly.
So a car battery, I mean, good Lord, I know because I've got used cars that sit around all the time. And that's the first thing after they've sit there for months or something like that. And you don't go crank them. Next thing you know, the battery's bad. Um, Boat batteries, they don't go bad that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
But you can get solar chargers and maintainers. I talked about that earlier too.
There you
And
go.
that covers you. Yeah.
yeah, I
Go ahead.
wouldn't say anything about having 4 deep cycle batteries that are on a trickle charger all the time. But
Yeah, exactly.
you know, the deep cycle batteries are designed to hold a charge and totally drain and then be able to come back up. Where an automotive battery is basically for starting. You get a high
Sure.
power jolt, and it's not a long term thing.
Exactly. Trying to go back up here and budget. I'm trying to find, I couldn't go back far enough. Budget, if you could. So Steven out there says best survival gear is the book Survival 101 or similar. And I can't remember the book that Budget had mentioned. If you're still out there, Budget, what was the book that you mentioned earlier on in the show that would be a great kind of a starter? Obviously, you can go to Google and just put, prepping or surviving for beginners or whatever, and you're going to find all sorts of resources out there. Go ahead,
I think it was 1 minute after.
1 minute after, I think that's what it was, something like that. Yeah. But yeah, there's obviously going to be books that you can find. There's resources. There are great YouTube channels. Like I said, Prepper Bunkers Outdoors. You've got a list, Alaskan Preppers. You've got Prepper Nation. You just search Prepper on YouTube, and you can 1 second after by William R. Fortune. 1 second after. But there's all sorts of resources, and I think that the thing is, you're talking about preparing and all of that to survive. Utilize every resource that you can. If you go find a YouTube channel you don't like it, go find another one. There's 1,000 of them out there, just like there's 1,000 gun channels out there. Don't take my word. Go take the word of 17 other people and then formulate your own opinion. But there are some great resources out there that are going to help you out with this. The biggest thing I can tell you is don't wait. And I'm not saying that you need to be paranoid and you got to be doing all. No, I'm just saying that like Nighthawk said originally, if you're going to buy a can of soup, buy 2 of them. Put 1 away. If you're going to buy a roll of paper towels, buy 2 of them. Put 1 away. And as you do that, like Clover was saying earlier, go see what's on sale at your local store. And you may not like spam or whatever, but if it's on sale, spam something that's going to last you a long time. If soup's on sale, soup's going to last you a long time. Go find things that you can get on cheap that you say, I may not want to eat that now, but if it came down to it, I would definitely eat the hell out of that. Buy some of it, put it away. And so let me ask you this. We're going to close off by saying this. Nighthawk, I'm going to sit there and say, for the person just getting into prepping, how much supplies would you say that they should have? Is it a weekend a week, 2 weeks, a month? What do you think that someone legitimately should start out and say, I feel comfortable that I have enough supplies to last this amount of time?
Well, I believe FEMA just went from a 72-hour kit to a 1 week kit.
Homeland Security proposed that it went to 2 weeks, 72 to 2 weeks. Now, that's Homeland Security. FEMA might have something else, but yeah. So you're saying at least 1 week?
I'd say 2 weeks. And everything with prepping and that is the old saying: 1 is none, 2 is 1, and 3 is for me. If they say 2 weeks, get 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Feel happy, get 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same with flashlights, same with anything.
But you would say for someone just starting out who's have enough supplies for food, water, and the necessities, then you can worry about the comfort stuff, but necessities to live off of, minimum of 2 weeks. Is that what you're saying?
I'd say
minimum
2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Clover, what about you? What do you think that is the minimum that you would suggest for people?
Starting point. I mean, somebody listening to this, never done it before, brand new, going to go out tomorrow and be thinking of things in a different light.
Yeah.
When we're talking bare minimum, I'm going to say a week.
Yeah.
Most of the weather related situations, natural disasters, things like that. I mean, a week, probably you're going to be okay. A week in combination with what you already have, right? Because what you've already got's got to run out first. So that, a week probably. But yeah, I mean, I say you need to go work it up to a month or 2, probably is where you want to be eventually.
Yep. I would say that the goal for bare minimum, not right away bare minimum, but the goal for bare minimum should be a month. That might take you a while to build up to that. 3 months budget and all that. Budget, I trust budget. Budget says 3 months a good starting goal. I don't know of a starting goal for 3. I think 3 months might be a goal to end up at.
Right.
Starting out, I would say 2 weeks minimum. I'd like to say a month.
There was a reason back in the day that people canned at the end of the growing season. Was to get them through the growing season. So keep in mind that even if you have experimented with a garden or with raised beds or hanging baskets or something like that and growing stuff, you have to have enough to get you to the point that you can harvest the stuff you're growing.
That's correct.
And even then you have to grow enough stuff that you can put up stuff for the next cycle. So
exactly.
Now there are ways around that, utilizing tarps, as we mentioned, and some of these other things. You can build houses, and you might grow certain things in your area year round. You might grow them year round even without hothouses. So but again, that all gets into the knowledge, which I think is number one. That's key.
One of the secrets to success with this is when you get there 2 weeks, don't stop.
Right, exactly.
Go for 3. And once you get to 3, go for 4.
No doubt. Yep, no doubt. Just because you reach that 2 weeks doesn't mean you stop. You keep going. But here's something that the reason why I brought that up is this. Let's say that you have a wife and 2 kids and a dog. Okay? A normal all-American family, 4 humans and a pet. Because here's the thing, when you're talking about prepping, you want to prep for your pets as well. If you're like I am, I'm taking my dog. I want to make sure my dog. Now, dogs can probably go out into the wilderness and find something because their natural instincts is to hunt. But you also want to make sure that you have maybe some food, maybe a big can of dog food. They can live off of half of a cup of dog food if they need to, or a cup of dog food a day if they need to. They may not like it, but they can do it. But that there. But what I'm saying to you is this: the reason why I brought that up is there's gonna be people sit there and say, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna start getting 2 weeks ready to go." Unless you've actually gone a weekend camping out or whatever with your family, you're never going to know what 2 weeks of food looks like for your family. So what I suggest is, can we go back full circle? And Clover brought up a great point when we very first started this. Take your kids out, even if it's just for one night or a day or a weekend. Go camp out and see if you can do it or not. because some people just can't do it, and it's okay. But if you're looking to figure out, you're past the point, I know we can do this. It's all good. But how much food is 2 weeks worth of food for us? Well, if you go and you spend a weekend out in the wilderness, you should be able to figure out what you can do, what you can't do. Can I fish? Can I hunt? Can I do whatever? The answer is no, not in this area. I probably can't do any of that stuff. So now we're going to rely on food of packaged or canned or whatever food that you have to go buy, that you can't live off of the land. So you got to figure out, how much food does my family of 4 plus a dog go through in a 48-hour span of camping out? And be honest about that. That's going to be a good starting point, saying, man, we went through 8 cans of soup and a 30-pack of water and this, that, and the other. You say, okay, that was all just in 2 days. So if I want to get 2 weeks, I'm going to have to go and get a 30-pack of water for every day. That's 14 30-packs of water. You can go buy that. If you can't buy it at your local grocery store, you can buy it on Amazon. They can ship it to you or whatever. But you have to figure out what portions of food that your family not necessarily wants to have, but needs to have to survive. Anything more than that is wonderful. But let's talk about surviving. Is everyone's going to have to cut down. You're not going to go eat that bag of potato chips, maybe. Or that bag of potato chips isn't going to last you 1 day. It's going to last you 4 days. You're going to have to start cutting back, but really honestly figure out what you and your family need to get through 48 hours. And that will give you an idea of what 2 weeks, a month, 3 months truly looks like. Go ahead.
You're talking about the, whatever, 32, 48 pack of water. What you need to be looking at is looking at how much water you're getting for your money.
That's right.
Maybe cheaper to buy it in the gallon jugs. And so while that's not necessarily great for like on the move or travel or something like that, if it's a hunker down situation, I mean, you're going to go through a gallon or two a day probably with cooking and drinking and doing other stuff. And so it's not that big a deal.
Right.
That extra plastic in the bottles, the packaging in the plastic does cost money.
Correct.
The other thing to remember, especially, with water, it goes beyond drinking. You need water to sanitize. You need water to cook. So you can figure, a person drinks 48 ounces of water a day. There may be, and I forget what the figure is, but you figure out a gallon or two per person per day to cover everything.
Something that you can do, you got to live in a place where you can do this in your backyard or whatever, but literally a plastic barrel with the top cut out of it and go throw a couple of capfuls of bleach in that every few days or something like that.
Yep.
Maybe put it under a gutter even, which would help even more. And you're talking about water to wash your hands, just random use water.
It's not
great
water.
source.
Yeah. Non-potable water definitely has its benefits. People laugh at me, but part of the thing that I keep in my vehicle, and Clover knows, he's traveled with me before, is as I'm big on travel kits. It sounds crazy, but you might want to think about deodorant. If you're surviving, deodorant's not going to matter, but a toothbrush and toothpaste really could help, because if you start losing your teeth because you're outside surviving, you're going to need that. It sounds crazy, but a toothbrush and toothpaste are probably going to be something that you think about for everyone else as well. But there's all sorts of stuff that you can do and all that. And we're just scratching the surface. Like I said,
Ghost.
Yo.
One thing, you were talking toothpaste and shampoo. It brought up something I read across last night. If you stay at a hotel, grab those little complimentary shampoos and soaps and things.
Always.
If you're eating at a restaurant and you get the package of plastic knife, fork, and spoon and the napkin in it, save it.
Tabasco, mustards.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So
Here's the don't have to pay.
So at what point? Asking for a friend. But at what point does prepper cross over into hoarder? I'm just curious.
Oh, I don't think there's too much of a difference there at all.
I don't know that there's a line there. I'll say the line is if you're prepping, you're getting supplies. If you're a hoarder, you're keeping newspapers and shit that whatever.
Which you can
That's
use as
kindling.
a,
You could
you
just
can
can
use it as a mattress.
could also use it
blanket.
as insulation. Works as insulation. See, we're getting
by
into
the
hoarder
way,
territory.
a lot of people, if you're like me, I've got boxes over here from Amazon and different places. Save those boxes as well.
Oh yeah,
those boxes could be huge.
break them down, stack them.
Break them down, absolutely, and for sure.
If you happen to be in a flood area or a hurricane area, the plastic bags, 25-pound bags that dog food comes in and cat food and all that, fill them with sand.
No doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah, there was something that I wanted to bring up that Nighthawk reminded me of something. What were you talking about just a second ago? Because it reminded me of something that I wanted to talk about.
The little complimentary toiletries.
So here's something that a lot of people don't realize. And I was talking about grabbing the ketchups and mustards and Tabascos and all that stuff, complimentary stuff. Absolutely. Here's the thing. When you get dehydrated, and chances are if you're going to be in a survival setting, an outdoor setting for a little while, you're going to cut back to the minimums of if I can survive on 2 bottles of water instead of 4, I'm going to do that to conserve water for a later time. You're going to start cutting back. And what happens? You're probably going to end up getting a little dehydrated. And that's just that's just a reality. You're going to shed weight and you're going to get dehydrated. And that's okay. As long as you're staying hydrated enough to survive. But what happens when you get dehydrated? You start getting muscle cramps a lot. So if you start getting cramps, you're probably dehydrated. That being said, what a lot of people don't realize is the greatest way to get rid of cramps is mustard. So if you've got those little mustard packets and you find yourself out there cramping up like a mug, get one of those mustard packets, eat the mustard, and the cramps go away. Now, I'm not saying they're going to go away forever, but it will get you to be able to get if you're having to get from point A to point B to whatever, and you start cramping, mustard, eat it, your cramp goes away, and you can move on. So it's not just for, putting on food and all that. Mustard with the vinegar, I'm assuming it's the vinegar inside, I guess. But mustard is a great way to get rid of cramps. Once again, little small tidbits that people may not know or may not use a lot. If you're going to get, I'd say a lot of athletes around here, you go to McDonald's and they ask you if you want any mustard or ketchup, ask for mustard and just save a bunch of mustard packets. And if you're getting a cramp in a basketball game or whatever, eat a mustard packet on the bench and your cramps are gone for a while. So,
knowledge, man, knowledge.
Yeah, it's knowledge. You came down to just, and you can ask 10 people the question of what's the most important thing, and you're probably going to get 10 different answers, and that's awesome because all 10 of them are probably extremely important ideas and things to get. So, Budget says, what color crayon tastes best? I like the mustard flavored candle, the crayons. They're the yellow ones. Those are not lemon flavored. Those are mustard flavored crayons. So, and yeah, I like the grape and the mustard crayons. Those are good. I'm a mustard guy. I like mayonnaise and mustard. It's a really good mixture. I put that on sandwiches a lot. People are like, oh, that's nasty, but mayonnaise and mustard is a pretty good mix right there. So damn, we've been going almost 2 hours. Holy shit. Man, I seriously, I didn't even look at that. Nighthawk, what's going on with you? Do you, what do you got planned for Thanksgiving? You have anything coming up that you want to bring up or talk about?
Not just going to the daughters for Thanksgiving. Everybody have a happy, healthy, and enjoyable Thanksgiving. If you're traveling, travel safe and stay aware.
Absolutely. Great point. I never, ever thought of this. 55 gallons in your water heater. If it comes down to it and you're not going to need hot water for a while and you need a water supply, your water heater is going to hold a lot of water. You can go drain that bad boy. That's a great idea. I never even thought about that. What about you, Clover? Nighthawk, ever thought about draining the water heater if you needed to?
Oh, yeah.
I never thought about that. Never even thought about that. That's a wonderful idea. Absolutely wonderful idea is the water heater. Yeah. And who wants to take it? Who's going to care about a hot shower? Honestly, at that point,
I got news for you.
It'd be nice, but that water heater is going to hold a lot of water for you. Yeah,
I got news for you. Just depending on where you live, just going out and unhooking a water line to your house, there is a lot of water in the water line from the meter, from the meter and all that to your house. A lot of water. If you've ever done any plumbing around your house and had to do that, had to drain that, you know how long that water runs out. It's a long time.
No doubt. Absolutely. No doubt about that. Clover, what you got going on? Anything special?
Man, I ain't going to have nothing as far as the channel or anything. I'm going to be AWOL probably for a week. And honestly, I invite everybody else to do the same, man, to get out, decompress. There's just been so much going on. Get out, decompress, enjoy your family, and don't quite worry about politics and other things for the next week or so. Just enjoy the holiday. Enjoy your family. With that, I will say that we've got Black Friday, we got Cyber Monday. Everybody always remembers those. They got cool names. Saturday. That's what I was going to say.
Oh,
the one that gets left out, the one in the middle that gets left out, is Small Business Saturday, and I'll be patroning my local gun shop for their Small Business Saturday get together thing, and especially with 2020, with a kick in the teeth that 2020 has been, especially the small businesses. If you can get out and support some small businesses Saturday, please go do that.
No doubt.
Especially your gun shops.
Yeah. Gun shops, Army surplus stores.
Yep.
Start
prepping.
Start about prepping. Start thinking about some of the Black Friday sales you could be getting going on. So some of the stuff that you can get for a really good deal. But yeah, and especially if there are local businesses selling those as well. But absolutely. As far as me, daughter's working Thanksgiving Day down at the heart hospital. So she won't be home, but she's going to come home Saturday. I think she's going to be able to come home, and it's also my wife's birthday, so we'll have Thanksgiving then, and all that. But I'm going to try to possibly get to the range Thursday if the rain stops and all that stuff happens, at least for an hour or so, get some shooting in, and maybe get a video shot. That might come out this weekend. If I don't get to the range, then you won't see a video for me come out this weekend. I haven't had time to get a log of videos backlog to get all that stuff out, but I may or may not have one Saturday. I'll surprise you if I do. But like, I want to reiterate what Clover said. Thanks everyone for watching. We still got 40 people watching. I know that most people, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off because I know there's 40 people watching, but it's been 2 hours. But yeah, enjoy your family. Give your loved ones a hug. You never know if this is going to be the last. I mean, it sounds crazy, but this might be the last Thanksgiving for some people. Make sure they know that you appreciate them. You're thankful for them. I'm thankful for everyone in my life, my family, my friends, everyone out here that it's part of this part of my life. I'm thankful for all of you. People like Clover who transcend what friendship is in the YouTube world. He's actually a dear friend in real life and all that. For those that are in my so-called real life friendships, I'm thankful for all of them as well. But yeah, just enjoy it. And like Clover said, there's a lot of crazy shit going on out there in the world right now. And it's okay to turn off and unplug for a few days and just enjoy being Americans and being free. Don't worry about things that you can't control. That's how I try to live my life to begin with is I don't worry about stuff that I can't control. There's nothing that I can do at this point that's going to stop the election results. There's nothing that I can personally do right now that is going to change who's inaugurated. I did my job and I voted. I can't do anything about all that stuff. So at this point, it's one of those that I'm not saying don't worry and don't keep up with it, but don't let that stuff change your everyday life. Don't let those things get you in a place that you forget who you are and people around you and all that. So I love what you said there, Clove. Enjoy your family, enjoy your friendship, enjoy time together, unplug. This might be a great weekend to get out and camp out with the kids, see if you can do it for a night or so. Kids are out of school. Weather is probably may not be that terrible, or if it is, it might be a good thing. But learn how to build a fire. Take a couple different things and try out. Okay, this lint thing works. This charcoal thing works. This over here works. That over there works. Try different ways to teach the kids how to build a fire, how to build a shelter with a tarp and some rope, or whatever you can find at the house. There's a lot of stuff that you could use for that. This might be a great weekend, not the whole week, but a day, a night. More importantly, just have fun with the family. And you might be surprised at how much fun your kids have in the outdoors if they've never been outdoors. You might be surprised how much fun they'll have and say, you know what? Hey, Dad, can we go camp out tonight instead of playing my Xbox or all that? Or my friends and I were talking, instead of playing Xbox, we all want to come out and camp out in the backyard this weekend. Can you help me put up a tent? Yeah, let's teach you how to put up a tent so your friends come in here in a controlled environment, in the backyard, fenced in, and all of that, camp out. But something as simple as putting up a tent, starting a fire, that might be something that you'd be surprised that kids enjoy. So thanks for Nighthawk for jumping in. Great for you to jump in. Clover, as always, my friend, thanks for jumping in. For everyone out there, it's been 2 hours. Thank you so much for sticking with us this long. We still got a bunch of people. I'm sorry. I wish I could go longer, but it's tough. I've got to go eat. I am hungry and all of that. But I'm going to go eat and all that. But thanks so much for watching. If you're watching a replay or listening to a podcast, once again, utilize the comment section below and let us know what you thought of the show. Let us know what you think are important things to start stockpiling with. Tell us where you thought we were wrong. Tell us, go to hell and start over. Whatever you want to talk about, use that comment section below. A couple of podcasts I've been trying to promote a little bit. One of them you don't really need to promote because they're already pretty big, but Team Never Quit. That is Marcus Luttrell and Morgan Luttrell. People don't know that Marcus Luttrell is a twin. Marcus Luttrell is the Navy SEAL that the movie Lone Survivor was based off of. And Marcus is a twin whose name is Morgan, and he's a Navy SEAL as well, or was a Navy SEAL as well. So, but they do a podcast called the Team Never Quit. Another great one out there is our good friend Chris Tonto Peranto's Battle Line podcast. Go check that out as well. Obviously, go check out Friday night. I don't know if Budget's going to be doing his Friday night chat. Very well could be. The Right of the People at 11:30 Eastern. You've got Gizzard Gary's chat Friday if he's going to do it. That is foul territory. And on Sunday, the early bird over on Gizzard Gary. Don't know if anything's going to happen this weekend, but typically they're out there. Clover's not going to be doing his Thursday night, obviously, but go check out that one. You've got, goodness gracious, there are so many great ones. G23's got a good one on Saturdays. Unloaded Media, Rich White's got his Unloaded this week Unloaded. So it's going to be one of those that G23 said you should be able to do a 5. Broads, I've gone 8 hours. Clover and I and G and a couple others have been on a stream either live or live combined with off air for 12, 13 hours before. Literally. It's not, I just don't want to do a 5-hour stream. It doesn't do anything for me anymore. I don't do that anymore. I didn't even realize we're going 2 hours already, but I don't want to do any more. But I love you guys. Thank you so much. Steven says, love your chats. Thank you. Thank you, Steven. I appreciate you. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. Do something for me this weekend. Do something outdoors or something with the family, even if it's just for an hour or so. Before next Tuesday, do something with your family that's outdoorsy type, whether it's camping or fishing or hiking or building a fire, something like that. And we'll talk about it next Tuesday. So, guys, thank you so much. Take care. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you next week. Semper Fidelis.